So Peter, great to meet you.
Nice.
Welcome back first of all, because it's been 7 years since Master and Commander.
That's right.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, was the break like a conscious thing, or does it take you a long time to kind of find the film you want to make and do it your way?
Look, I would have loved to have moved off Master and Commander. I was feeling, ready for another film, funnily enough, after it, complex but stimulating. And, several things I tried, just nothing would get up and live. They were, it was like a frustrating period. 3 projects that just came apart. None of them do I think had to be made, by the way. And, I don't miss them. But the 4th one that came along, I thought, now, this has got to happen. I just loved it so much.
Did you kind of enjoy sort of delving into the history and the story of it? Because a lot of your films kind of do deal with history quite recently.
Oh, I love the research period. With a historical subject, it's obviously relevant. And so in this case, it was going to the real locations, to Gobi Desert and to Siberia, and then meeting people who had suffered in these gulags, and who, in one case, a man here who had escaped, a Polish man. And what interesting, hours they were sitting with them, so, often with an interpreter. And you're hearing these things just in living memory. They might be, an old person, but they're telling these things that they saw and experienced. Often the memory incredibly sharp from when you've lived under extreme circumstance, so they can tell you details, So I was, got that on tape and wrote stuff down and put it into the film, lots of it.
The scenery as well is kind of almost a character in itself, and I noticed that it didn't seem like there was much CGI, or very kind of little. Was it conscious that you wanted to make sure it was real and you were showing?
Yeah, it didn't, wanted to go to the real places. It's just at times we had to enhance things. We weren't actually in the Himalayas, we were in mountains in Bulgaria, so we added photographic elements which were from the Himalayas, and so it looked right. But most of the time, 90% was just, nature in its wonderful extremes of desert, forest and mountains. And various conditions. I think we have every kind of weather in it, from rain to sandstorms, snowstorms. And, what a pleasure. And a contrast to Master and Commander, which was tremendously CGI driven. And I think the actors were inspired by it, that you'd go out into the real locations. And, at times very hard. I remember the freeze of Bulgaria. They were saying, they were all looking forward to get to Morocco and be warm again. And Jim reminded me one day in Morocco saying, oh my God, it's so bloody hot. I wish we were back in Bulgaria in the forest.
I want to ask you about the Truman Show as well, because in this country especially, reality TV, which is what it's called, is very, very popular, and that Truman Show kind of preceded that. So I wondered, was there any kind of reference points you had for television shows then, or did you kind of foresee that this was happening?
No, funnily enough, in what was it, 98? It seemed to be fiction, speculative fiction. Just an imaginary possibility, a kind of satire. And one reviewer, in fact, wrote, you kind of canned the film in America and said the trouble with this film is that it just could never happen. People wouldn't sit watching boring stuff like this, daily life. Well, was he wrong?